this episode of The Dealer Playbook, a podcast that explores what it takes to create a thriving career right here in the retail auto industry. I'm your host, Michael Cirillo, joined today by my pal, Carla Wade from Automotive Mastermind. We are going to be discussing how to reimagine the BDC in a customer-first era. Look, if there's one thing we understand well in the dealership world, like many businesses, we're prone to experiencing interdepartmental silos. Perhaps one of the biggest silos, however, to exist is the in-store experience versus what the customer perceives it will be like from their online shopping activities. Bridging the gap between the dealership's online and in-store experience is more crucial than ever, especially with the growing demand of virtual and online retailing. The catalyst for evolution can very well be your Business Development Center, or BDC. Joining us today is Carla Wade, a 20-year veteran of the car business who is joining us to help reimagine the BDC in a consumer-first era. Carla, I am so excited about this. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Hi, Michael. I'm really excited to be here today.
This is, 20 years in the industry. You've seen some stuff. And I'm curious, when did you, why BDC? Why is that kind of the avenue that you chose? What's your affinity to BDC?
Well, so 20 years is being conservative, but I like the way it kind of, masks my actual age. I kind of evolved into BDC, quite frankly. I started a little bit lower on the rung and, I've done almost anything there is to do at a dealership besides, kind of PDI and prep the cars for delivery, which, of course, I know a lot of folks in the industry, kind of get that kind of grassroots training as well. But I found the BDC to really kind of be my niche. And I grew a massive affinity for it as I was running a sales and service BDC together. And really at that time, this is like when internet first started to bloom and people were finally kind of shopping for cars online at the kind of the peak of that era kind of opening up. There were so many possibilities there that really excited me with that role.
It's surprising to me how many dealerships don't have BDC, especially this day and age, especially when you think about, the Carvanas of the world, which really are just really big BDCs. What could you say perhaps to a dealership who has almost a hybrid or quasi BDC? What should they be focusing on perhaps in their individuals that they're looking to hire, or a structure to really set them down the right path in BDC?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Michael. I think a lot of it really depends on your dealership and how you operate, right? One of the great things about a BDC is that it can set the tone and create a wonderful experience for your customers. And these days, people are less transactional as they are kind of, looking for that right experience, feeling like they're getting a white glove service. So if you're a smaller dealership where maybe you're a little bit more bespoke, you don't have a lot of inventory, maybe you're niche, and your sales reps can handle that inbound lead being taken care of in a very timely fashion, as well as answering the phone, making sure emails are responded to in a timely fashion, then perhaps you don't have that need for a BDC. But if you are a tad bit on the larger side, you've got a lot of business churning through month over month, this is the best way to make sure that you're increasing dealer loyalty, as well as enhancing that experience for every customer that explores your store.
Yeah, I love that, especially as it pertains to enhancing. I love that choice of words, Carla, because often we use terminology I've observed like fulfilling customer needs or satisfying customer needs. But I love this idea of enhancement because we acknowledge they're already receiving some type of an experience. We're here to make it so much better than they've ever anticipated. And that's so crucial. So what are some of in the spirit of enhancing a customer's experience, what are some of the key components you would submit are crucial to, I guess, the day-to-day activities of a BDC?
Yeah, sure. So I think putting yourself in the consumer's seat, right? So, how do you like to be taken care of? If you submit an email to a business or an organization, how quickly would you like your response to come back? How knowledgeable would you like that person to be on the other end of the phone? How convenient are they making this transaction for you? And these are some of the key components where BDC can really help make that difference.
Yeah, you talk about how the BDC essentially is a conduit to the showroom floor. What does that look like? I'm thinking about the day-to-day operations of a dealership. How does a BDC, and especially with all of the silos, right? Sales
Mhm.
rarely knows what marketing's doing. Marketing kind of has an overall agenda, but maybe F&I and parts and service, they have no clue about any of this stuff. How can the BDC be, I guess, the linchpin or the sun by which the solar system revolves?
Yeah, so often in a dealership it's difficult to kind of create those synergies, right? And instead of looking as your BDC as a separate center or a separate department, they should be an extension of your showroom floor, right? So what I mean by that is make sure that you product. They should know what's
Carla,
in your
we
inventory.
lost you there.
Ah,
So you
okay.
said
Make sure that they have the right product knowledge and understand some of the ancillary positions of a sales rep, right? So, for example, you know your product very well. You know what inventory you have in stock, right? You can guide the customer through potentially the difference between one model versus the next. You have some industry intel. So this way, they can almost give the customer the very basics of what they need to help complete their shopping. Create a relationship with sales rep and BDC that is a hand in glove type relationship. There's no competition here, right? The BDC should be happy to hand off their customers to a sales rep, and a sales rep feel confident that this customer is ready and prepped and armed for what they need to make that purchasing decision.
I love that. Anytime we bring up anything to do with culture and a healthy workplace culture, I just perk up. I think, especially on the DPB, for those listening, it's important that you understand in 7+ years now of producing the show, over 75% of all guests on the show speak to the importance of a healthy culture. We can't ignore this. How do you, in your experience, from your observations, how do you create this hand in glove, as you say, experience in something that has traditionally been viewed as a Shark Tank? How do we really create that relationship?
Yeah, so it's get them involved and don't exclude them. So you're having your sales meeting, you're having that Monday morning jump start, you're having that Saturday morning meeting before the big weekend sale. Get your BDC in that meeting with you so that they understand what's happening at your showroom. They feel an integral member and part of your organization, and create those synergies. That knowledge is power, and making them feel involved makes reps a lot more passionate about what they're doing and why they're doing it.
This idea, back, I think one of my first jobs as in the workforce was at Best Buy. Now, in Canada, it used to be called Future Shop, and it was very Shark Tanky. However, every single morning, I remember we had a meeting where they would walk through everything that was going on. And those of us who were paying attention excelled. This was commission sales. So back in the day, it was all commission sales. It wasn't, no pressure, this and that. It was like, you are buying a TV today, pal.
Hardcore, yeah.
Yeah. But you also made really good money. I remember I was a 17-year-old. I was the youngest commission salesperson in Canada. They traditionally didn't hire 17-year-olds to do commission sales. But I was like, sorry, pal, I am not slinging CDs. I don't work in the music. Like, I'm making money. But those of us that paid attention in those meetings, understanding that they were there to make sure everyone was in the loop, we excelled. Those that were like, man, whatever, they just sat there in the corner waiting for customers to come to them. They had no clue, what was going on and how we were able to stack deals and how we were able to stack products and incentives and all of those sorts of things. And I see this as very much the case, in dealership world where there's just such a lack of communication. Do you, outside of that morning meeting, are there any other communication methods that you've found work really well in just keeping the team connected?
Yeah, so that's the relationship between, the BDC and your showroom floor, right? Your sales reps. Now, in my old organization, what we had a few reps that were dedicated to either the internet sales, and I'm putting up quotation marks here, right? Internet sales and that type of thing. And that was those sales reps that really kind of understood the difference between this type of customer versus, the person who walks right in through your showroom door. They understand that customer has potentially already been online and shopping you against many others, right? Kind of arming themselves with information, have a ton of questions that some may throw you a curveball. So we had dedicated reps that were ready to receive a message from the BDC that the customer was coming in, or that they had someone on the phone that was ready to take the sale a little bit further, and they worked really well in concert with that particular BDC rep, helping smooth that transaction for the customer, which seemed almost seamless, as if they were talking to the same person all along.
And so are they actually going through some sort of a handoff? And what I mean by that is, I think most consumers, when somebody picks up the phone, they automatically just assume they're talking to a sales rep, right?
Yeah.
So is this actually saying like, hey, my name's Michael and I work in our, concierge department to make sure that you have all the info? Like, how does that look? Are they making it known that they're in a different department than sales?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I used to go as far as having my BDC reps greet their inbound customers on the showroom floor and make that intro to the sales rep. That used to go over so incredibly well, because sometimes customers shop online for so long that they've created a relationship with my BDC rep, right? They've become someone that they kind of trust and look to for information. So having that personal handoff when it's possible, right, allows that person to feel like they're entrusting me in Michael's hands. I must be in good hands. And you've already transferred a lot of that information that you've gotten from your customer to the sales rep. So therefore, the customer doesn't feel like they're starting from ground zero all over again with the transaction.
I love that. In this age of digital retail, the impending doom of closing dealerships all over the world in lieu of the Vroom model or the Carvana. What can dealerships, in your opinion, be doing today to fortify perhaps against something like that and or get with the program?
Yeah. Well, thank goodness that cars are still sexy enough that people do still want to see them in person,
right, or
potentially give them a little bit of a test drive. But you're right. There is this one component that we cannot avoid, right? And that is, and COVID kind of really opened the doors to this, right? Where we were kind of forced to go the digital route, where leaning on, data and analytics and creating platforms or being flexible with our model to allow customers to feel safe and have options when it comes to their buying needs by opening up digital retailing. So I can tell you that 80% of dealers currently have adapted to some kind of creative delivery method out of the pandemic. And that's not going to go away, right? So of people that we've actually surveyed as well, about 65% of people said that they purchased their vehicles completely online, digital retailing and all, and they'd like to do so again. So even though we may go back to a sense of normalcy very soon, this new digital retailing age may be something that will stick around for some time. Carvana and those folks are creating a convenience. And that's what customers are looking for, something that meets their needs. I can come in store and shop if I like. I can have the car delivered to me and while I shop online if I like. So being flexible is really going to allow you to stay ahead of the game and make sure that you're delivering, again, going back to those experiences that your consumer is looking for.
Yeah. I love how each and every one of your sentiments is create something. You can do this too. Just because they're doing it doesn't mean you have to just sit here and mope and whine and cry that somebody else has figured out perhaps a better way. You can do it too. I often look at dealerships and I go, man, you have everything you need to pull off a model like this. And I think that's why we advocate so much for dealers taking control. Stop spending so much energy worrying about the Vroom or the Carvana of the world and start taking a lot of this into your control. But let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Should we, it's easy to listen to a podcast or go to a conference where the subject matter leaders pontificate over the data and things of that nature. And what happens often is we think in terms of absolutes. Oh man, this is absolutely the way that it is everywhere in the world. Everyone is doing it this way. How much of this should we be factoring into the context of our individual markets? And what I mean by that is, small town USA, I feel like just has a little bit of a different heartbeat than some of the metropolitan areas. Are people as likely to adapt to digital retailing as quickly in some of those smaller markets? What is your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, and that's like how we opened up the podcast today, right? When we were talking about why doesn't every dealership have a BDC? It really depends on your demographic, the needs of your customer, and it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So though in some of our smaller markets, it may be easier or more pleasing for a customer to go into the dealership and have that one-on-one experience. It may not feel like they're competing for time as much as they would where you've got a showroom that's filled with customers and you could be waiting around for hours and hours just to either be addressed or to get your transaction completed. So you absolutely have to prepare for the model that's best for you. But if a customer were to turn around and ask you for that, that digital experience, are you equipped and are you ready to be able to do so? Could you stand to lose them to a competitor if you don't adapt? So I would say having at least arming yourself with the knowledge or preparing yourself with the ability to be able to do so if needed would be really important, even if it's not a regular occurrence.
Yeah, I love that. I think, gosh, there's so much information out there. Being able to apply it to the context of your circumstances, I think is just such brilliant advice, Carla. Let me ask you this kind of as we wind down the conversation here a little bit. What do I say I'm a BDC rep or say I'm the listener, I'm a dealer and I've got a BDC and I'm hearing this conversation and I see what's happening and I'm one of the 80% that have some sort of creative delivery. I guess what I'm asking is, traditionally our industry kind of latches on to buzz topics or buzzwords or, right now, obviously it's all digital retail. Mm-hmm. And often it's easy for us to assume that all we need is the tool. The tool will lasso the sun, the moon, and the stars for us. We know that that's not the case. You said something. You triggered this thought process for me, which is prepare for a model that's best for us or, whoever's listening. What do we need to be considering process-wise to make sure that an online retail model actually works and that we're not just putting all of our faith in a tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, the auto industry is still about relationships, right? And relationship building is where you begin to cultivate some of your best loyalty practices, right? So just the attention to details, you can have a process put in place with very little, as long as you stand by the times that people are being responded to, the information that you're arming your reps to be able to provide to your customers, allowing them the bandwidth to be flexible, right? If a customer says they don't want to come in, but they want to test drive your car, they don't feel safe, can you take the car to their home and allow them to test drive it in their area, right? And show them some of those, safe practices that you're doing in your dealership. Is there maybe a video walk around with your iPhone, right? That you can show them the ins and outs of the vehicle. So you give them a deeper dive without them having to leave their home or come into your dealership straight away. There are little things that we can do that are resources we have readily available to all of us right now that can help you enhance that process. Think outside the box, right? And again, putting yourself in that consumer seat, knowing or thinking about how you would like to be handled in that situation can be the jumpstart to creating any well thought through process.
I love it. I know you have a hard stop. I have one more question for you.
Go for it.
To that effect. Putting yourself in the customer's seat. This is going to sound like a crazy dumb question, but it's one that I've been asked. I don't think it's actually a dumb question. I think it's, just our heads are in the trenches so much in our business that sometimes it can be difficult to anticipate the customer's seat. What should I be thinking about? How does one put themselves in the customer's seat actually? What do they need to ask themselves to do so appropriately?
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, right? I run a sales team today, and we do a lot of cold calling, which is not fun and is not easy. But the best way to get a conversation going or to keep someone on the phone or to dig deeper is to ask them discovery questions, right? What is it you're looking for? Why are you looking for this car? Do you have any, alternates if that's not available? What's your time frame look like? What is, what's the usage for the car? Is it business? Is it personal? Is it to cart around children? Do you have hobbies? Those types of things. Not only will the customer feel like you actually give a crap about them because you want to know more about them than you are kind of shoving the car in front of them, but It will also help you to understand more about that customer's needs, then saving you time and making sure you can find that best suited vehicle to suit those needs as well. So just be curious and ask questions and get your customer involved in the transaction.
Awesome. Carla, this was so much fun. I'm so glad that we were able to catch up and that I was able to take loads of notes from this conversation. I'm a ferocious note taker. I just love taking notes. How can those listening get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. So we're easy to find. So automotivemastermind.com, that's our website. You can get in touch with us there. You can request a demonstration if you'd like to see how we do it. We put out a lot of content as well, Michael, that is absolutely free. We have playbooks. We've got recordings from past webinars that we've done on some thought leadership stuff. It's all housed on our website as well. And we welcome anyone to come and enjoy any of that content we've got there to share.
Amazing. Carla, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Michael, you're great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Michael Cirillo, and you've been listening to the Dealer Playbook podcast. If you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. Leave a rating or review and share it with a colleague. If you're ready to make big changes in your life and career and want to connect with positive, nurturing automotive professionals, join my exclusive DPB Pro community on Facebook. That's where we share information, ideas, and content that isn't shared anywhere else. I can't wait to meet you there. Thanks for listening.